You know, the leader said that discovery has become a political problem for the governor. Well, you know what? It's a problem for victims and survivors. And as the leader said, I was a police officer and was for 26 years, starting in 1982 to 2008. And there weren't even terms like survivor in 1982. They were victims. And the work that we did then changed over the years to be more what they called the victim-centered approach. And in 1994, I had the great fortune of becoming a detective, in which I held that position for 14 years, and then I retired in 2008. And there is often said, and I say this a lot, there isn't a more lonely place in this world than being a victim of crime and being a survivor of a criminal act. Unless you have experienced that, and I have not, you can't really understand it. And those victims and those survivors carry that burden essentially forever. And it is incumbent upon the government, district attorneys like the one standing right next to me, who prosecute individuals and hold them accountable for those victims, for those survivors. And we've learned so much over the years about what it means to be a victim and a survivor. Trauma is a word that is used constantly. When I was a new cop, trauma meant a car accident. Now it means so many other things, and that trauma never goes away. And I remember that there were times when I would be with someone who called for help with those folks for months, sometimes 2 years, depending on the type of case it was. And there were many times that people would be very reluctant, especially victims of sexual assault and domestic violence, to go forward with a complaint, to make that first step, to hold that person accountable. And it takes time, and it takes effort, and it takes compassion, both on the police officer and the victim services that are now so prevalent throughout this state. In 1982, not so much. So here we have the reforms of 2019 have set that back, no doubt. And the other side doesn't really want to talk about it. Yeah, they've tweaked bail reform a couple of times, but it's still not where it needs to be. And now you have the issues with discovery where cases are being dismissed, as the leader said. You had a case just recently in New York City where an individual who allegedly assaulted his ex-girlfriend and then made her disrobe in front of her friends, that case was dismissed on a nonsensical technicality. What do you say to her? What do you say to her? Do you think she'll ever come forward again? Because she's probably, unfortunately, could be a victim of an abuser, maybe even this guy, because she can't get an order of protection. So, you know, the governor's changes, they make some sense. They don't go far enough because the statistics bear out. You know, convictions are down, especially in the area of domestic violence and sexual assault. So we're saying to the governor, and especially to our colleagues on the other side of the aisle, no budget without changes. How can you claim to be on the side of the people you represent, especially the most vulnerable, when you don't even really want to talk about it? It's not even included in the One House. We'll see what happens. 56 district attorneys recently sent a letter to the governor and the leaders of both houses saying, we want these changes. 56, which I think are all the DAs outside of New York City, and I know that they want those changes too. So if we're going to get back to public safety, which is the first priority of government, for us, right now, in this moment, it starts here. Make a change so individuals who want to report crimes know that those investigations will take place and individuals will be held accountable, and not walking free on some nonsensical technicality to discovery, especially when it relates to things that don't even relate to the case. That's the thing that is really hurting these initiatives that they put forward. Again, the New York way, let's do it and figure it out later, but unfortunately it's taken, 5 years or more to figure it out, and it's still not really figured out. So you're going to hear from my colleagues and the district attorney who was fighting this fight every single day in Nassau County, and they're lucky to to have you, Madam DA. They're lucky to have you.